Welcome back to our channel. In this week's video, we're going to show you some more Fusion tips and tricks. I'm going to show you how to insert an SVG file and get it ready to cut. So that means scaling it to the size that you want, and I'm going to show you an easy way to do that. So the first thing that we're going to do is start a new component. We're going to call this Lone Wolf. And then we'll go here to insert SVG, insert from my computer, and we have it here, Wolf Lodge. That's the name of the file, Lone Wolf Lodge. And then we need to select the plane. We'll select this one, and we'll just bring it into our Fusion. And there it is right there. So ultimately, we want this sign or this cut to be 24 inches round. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to finish the sketch. Go to extrude. We'll extrude it to 0.06 of an inch. And as you can see here, these holes, they didn't extrude. So we need to go back and edit the sketch a little bit. So down here, we'll find where the sketch is. We'll right click, hit edit sketch. It'll take us right back to the sketch. So these circles, for whatever reason, they didn't extrude. So the easy way is we'll just go and we'll grab another circle. We'll just drag it to the edge, make our own circle, find the center, drag it to the edge, make our own circle. And we know it's the center because when we bring the circle in, a little circle appears, and that tells us that it's the center of that circle. So once that's done, we can hit escape, finish sketch. And now, because we already extruded it, we need to edit this feature. So we'll come down here to the taskbar and we'll right click, edit feature. And sometimes when it does this, it disappears, but it's just thinking. And if it completely disappears or you don't see your new circles, come over here to the left underneath the browser and make sure that your sketches are on. Because if the sketch is off, then those circles may not appear and you won't be able to extrude them. So make sure the sketches are on, and now see how those come up. So we can cut these. So we can hit that one, we'll select that one, we'll select that one, and now we have our holes. Boom, done. We hit OK, the computer goes through its process, and there's our sign. So like I said, we want this sign to be 24 inches round. So we need to scale it up, and we'll do this in the modify feature. But first we need to know what size it is now. So we go to inspect, we're going to measure from one side to the other, and at 6.35 inches. So that's important because we're going to use that in our scale feature. Excuse me. So under modify, we'll scroll down to scale, and it wants us to select the entity. So I'm just going to left click and select all. Okay, so then it brings up this. It's all blue, so we know that this is what it's going to scale. And right now it's set to 1, so it's 1:1, meaning it's still at 6.35 inches. Now over here in the scale type, we want to make sure that's uniform. And then in this dialog box, we want it 24 inches, so we do 24 divided by 6.35, enter. And then now that's going to be exactly 24 inches round. And we'll just take our inspect and measure again just to make sure. 24 inches. That's it. So from this point, we've brought in the SVG, we've extruded it, we've made sure that we've captured all the features that we want, we've scaled it to the size. So now we're going to cut it. So up here in the dialog box where it says design, we're going to go and scroll down to manufacture. And we want to create a new setup. So we go setup to new setup. And then this gives us a square sheet or square piece that we're going to cut from. And typically that's what we're working with. So to move, this is the origin. This is where we'll zero out on our sheet. So to move this, we click this, and then you just simply click that corner. And then now this is where our torch will set up. This is where we'll start the cut. And we hit OK. Then from there, we go to cutting, 2D profile, and it brings up this box. Now we select our tool. We come over here and we already have our tools preset in this plasma cutter file. So we're going to cut this out of 16 gauge fine cut. So we click that. We make sure that these parameters are all correct, and they are. And from there we go to the geometry, and we're going to click this, and the computer will automatically decide what's going to cut on the outside or the inside. And right now, because it's all blue, we know it's all going to cut correctly. It's going to cut on the outside or the inside, depending on the cut. So then over here, we want to make sure that we click smoothing, because when we don't have smoothing, it makes for a really difficult cut or a really ragged cut. And I say really, I'm being a little bit dramatic, but the difference between cutting with smoothing on and off is significant. So we always want to click smoothing, and typically the default of 0.0004 is perfectly fine. So then we'll go over here to the linking section, and this is where we get to change the lead in and lead out distances. Now, because this is a 24 inch by 24 inch sign, these spaces are probably big enough for the lead in and lead out. However, we want to make sure that we capture everything. So on a sign like this, where it's not super critical, the sizes, we'll turn off the lead in, we'll turn off the lead out, and the pierce clearance, that's going to be just fine. So we'll hit OK. And I'll show you how we adjust for that lead in and lead out so we don't get marks on the edge of the steel. Now we just wait for it to create the toolpath. So there it is, 100%, it's created the toolpath. So the next step that we do is we come over here to where it's blue highlighted, we right click the mouse, and we hit simulate. Now this is going to show us the cut, it'll show us the path that the torch is going to take, and we just want to make sure that everything is fine, that it's captured all the features of the cut. So you can either look at the toolpath by clicking the box here, or like I like to do, I keep it unclicked. So this is a blank piece of steel, and we hit play, and it'll show us how it's going to cut. Now this toolpath that you're seeing, that's exactly how it's going to cut on the table. So if we see something that's out of whack, now this is the time to adjust it. As it just goes through and make sure that we just want to make sure that it captures everything. Looks like it did. Good. Okay, so we're going to close. And we go back to this blue highlighted, we right click, post process. Now this is our custom Mach 3 plasma post process application. So we're going to name this Lone Wolf. And then here, the cut height, we need to put in our parameters of 0.06. The pierce delay, now this is where we're going to adjust for the no lead in, no lead out. So the standard setting for our torch for the pierce delay is 0.4 seconds. We change it to 0.02 seconds. Now that is quite a bit faster than 0.4. However, it still pierces just fine, and it's not hanging out long enough on the edge of the cut to where you're going to see a little dimple or you're going to see where it pierced. So our pierce height is still 0.15. Our probe offset is -0.16, and our safe Z is 0.5. Now the pierce offset, that's the touch off. So that's how much that the torch comes down, it hits the steel, the top of the steel, and it'll decrease 0.016, and it uses that calculation to determine the cut height of 0.06. And then once that's done, we just hit post, and we'll save it to our cutting file. And that's it. It's that simple. You'll see that the NC program, now that's the actual cut file. We can open that. Lone Wolf. Now this is the actual G code. This is the start, and it'll go through. These are all the lines of code that tells the torch, or the computer tells the torch where to go. And this particular cut has 3,236 lines of code. Now, if we had smoothing off, we would have more lines of code. But that's it. So as the machine here finishes up this cut, we're going to finish up this video. Hope we were able to help you out, give you some tips and tricks when inserting SVGs in the Fusion 360 and setting up your cut. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.